I don't have much of an intro for this video. That noise is about the best you're gonna get. You guys can probably tell what kind of video you're getting into right now, so let's just jump right in. Welcome back to another unscripted film review. As I mentioned in my Scoob review, there haven't been many of these lately because with COVID causing movie theaters to shut down, there haven't been many films, but a few theatrical movies have made their way to video on demand, and this was just another one of those. As you can tell from the title, the film that we'll be talking about today is the latest Disney movie, Artemis Fowl. Here it is, the somewhat long-awaited, long-delayed feature film adaptation of the 2001 novel Artemis Fowl, directed by Kenneth Branagh, who previously directed Thor and the 2015 Cinderella remake. As I mentioned, this movie was going to be adapted long ago. It was actually first intended to be launched back in 2001 when the novel came out. It languished in development hell and then made it to Disney. They intended for it to come out in theaters as a summer blockbuster, but unfortunately with COVID, they decided to just throw it onto Disney Plus. That's about the most I can say in this intro because what the fuck even is this movie? That's really just the thing that I've been thinking about in my reflection after watching Artemis Fowl. What the fuck did I watch? I can't even say I was super excited for this because of Disney's spotty track record with live action films, but Jesus, this was horrific. And I'll put it to you like this, I've seen a lot of people already complaining about this movie and saying negative things about it, but I will point out that a lot of the complaints that I have been seeing have come from people that have read the books. I will let it be known right away that I have not read the books. And even if I did, I probably wouldn't talk about them much in this review because when I watch a movie that's an adaptation of a book, I don't like to go into it with like a checklist of what gets changed and what stays the same because I think the movie deserves to be analyzed as a movie on its own and not as a compare and contrast to the book. But in that regard, even having not read the book, I think people who didn't read the book might be worse off with Artemis Fowl than people who did. Because this movie is an hour-and-a-half long torture chamber that honestly feels like it's 3.5 hours long. To give you an idea of the story or some semblance of it, I guess, the movie centers around Artemis Fowl, this pretentious, brainy 12-year-old who was kidnapped by a gang of fairies, and now Artemis has to save him with the help of other magical creatures. Really, that's about the best that I could say about this story because honestly, throughout much of this movie, I couldn't even tell what the fuck was going on. This movie has about 5 different plot lines going on that don't connect and don't feel coherent whatsoever. In a lot of ways, it felt like Kenneth Branagh just kind of made a movie without thinking about things such as story, structure, and just thought, you know what, how many cool things can I combine for 95 minutes? And the result was this movie. Branagh probably thought so much about how much visual masturbation he could do that he didn't think at all about writing a decent script. Because even beyond the lack of coherence in the actual story itself, this movie talks too much. I've said it a lot and I've learned this a lot in screenwriting classes. A big problem with certain films is when the dialogue is too on the nose and when the movie is unable to pull off a show don't tell approach. This movie basically just takes a tell don't show approach by literally spitting everything that it can to you all at once. Even as we get to the end of the movie, the dialogue in this is so overly expositional. It's so laid out for you on a silver platter. It's almost cringeworthy. What doesn't help is that the narration doesn't do anything for the movie. Almost the entire thing is narrated, and while I don't have a huge problem with narration, in the case of this movie, again, it doesn't work because everything is thrown at you. There is nothing to think about with this movie. There's nothing to learn from it. Everything about the movie is spat at you in the dialogue. It's almost like you're a 5-year-old and the movie has every intention of just holding your hand throughout the entire thing. And in terms of characterization, there's really not much of that either. Few of the characters I really gave a shit about. Artemis himself is actually kind of repulsive, and I know he's someone that I'm supposed to care care about, but I can assure you I don't. There's really nothing about him that makes him sympathetic. He goes through no arc, there's no real redemption in the movie. Throughout the whole thing, he is just a pretentious 12-year-old brainy jackass. Also, for a movie called Artemis Fowl, Artemis really has no active role in the story. He does pretty much nothing throughout the movie. Really, I think the character who is the most active in this movie is Holly Short. And frankly, she was probably the only character that I actually sympathized with or even remotely cared for. Other than that, the only character that I think goes through something of an arc is Mulch Diggums. And even then, Mulch is just such a frustratingly annoying character that even after he changed, I didn't really care for the change. There's really very few characters worth cheering for in this film. As I'm literally looking through a list of them, a number of these guys I forgot were even in the movie. And again, you know it's bad when the main character who the movie is titled after really has next to no active role in the story. The acting in the film, it's mostly forgettable. Ferdia Shaw, who plays Artemis, kind of plays the role in just this really stoic, not that exciting way. Even in the scenes where he's supposed to be sad, I don't really get the sad vibe from him. Laura McDonnell as Holly Short is fine. She plays Holly in this really wide-eyed kind of way. She's ambitious. She's got a can-do attitude, I would say. Again, I would say she's probably the best character in the movie, even if that's not a super high barrier to reach. Josh Gad plays Mulch, and it's a pretty non-Josh Gad performance. I didn't realize it till about halfway through that I was watching Josh Gad, but honestly, the character as a whole is just completely cringy. He's what I would call a not-so-comic relief character that I guess is supposed to be funny, but instead he just kind of makes you facepalm. Nanzo Azuni as Dom is fine. Colin Farrell plays Artemis Fowl the First. Judi Dench is Commander Root, and I get the impression that those two didn't really care to go above and beyond with their performances. They're not bad, but they're just not anything special. I guess some of the CGI is kind of cool outside of the whole drug trip thing that happens when some of the characters go through that weird time portal in the movie. Also, that thing where Mulch like rips his mouth open is something I wish I could unsee. The moment where he's digging through the dirt and they make a terrible fart joke, I wish I could forget. But even though the CGI, I guess, is okay, the cinematography is really dizzying. I don't know who thought that this repetitive switch between slow shots and fast shots was a good idea, but it's not. It doesn't make the movie look more dynamic. It just makes me feel kind of queasy as I'm watching it. Yeah, I mean, there's not many good things I can really say about the movie. In fact, I know the movie wasn't going to be this, but I can't even say that it's like a so bad it's good movie because the movie takes itself so seriously. I'm not surprised that it took itself seriously, but I'm just saying that with how bad it is, it's not even something that you can point and laugh at. It's just really obnoxious, really bland, completely forgettable in every way. There's very little going on in terms of the writing, the visuals, or the acting that truly stand out and really hit the mark. If you read the book, it's probably going to make you really angry. If you didn't, it's probably just going to confuse the hell out of you. It clearly was trying to be a franchise starter like Harry Potter, but honestly, this whole YA book to movie adaptation thing has already sailed its course. And it feels like no matter how many times they keep trying, it's just not going to work. This, I'd say, is the most abhorrent example of it that I've seen in a while. Yeah, I don't know what else I could say other than that on my rating scale, Artemis Fowl is gonna get an awful rating. This movie was honestly stunningly awful. I'd say that even if you have Disney Plus, just ignore it. There are far better ways to spend an hour and a half. Hell, spending an hour and a half with this movie is gonna feel like spending 4.5 hours with it. But that's just my opinion on the movie. Some of you guys have probably already seen it. If you have, what do you think about it? If you haven't, do you plan to? I don't recommend it, but either way, leave your thoughts down in the comments. Let's keep this civil and have some fun. If you guys want to hit like and subscribe, thank you, but if not, I am not gonna beg for it. It's totally understandable. I have no idea what's coming next in terms of film reviews. Really, it's just gonna come down to either when theaters reopen or if there are any new direct-to-video movies coming out that were going to be theatrical that interest me. We'll see what happens. Stay tuned for new videos, but until then, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.